She didn't resist when they handcuffed her at the security checkpoint. No badge, no explanation needed, just a quiet woman who triggered every metal detector despite carrying nothing metallic and refused to reveal her identity. The small airport terminal had prepared for a routine security check until the glass doors opened and an FBI director in a dark suit walked silently through the crowded waiting area. Security personnel straightened their posture. The TSA supervisor's face changed color as he read the classified documents, and suddenly everything changed. Dawn breaks over Terminal 5 at Reagan International Airport, stretching along the Potomac River. Early morning mist clings to the windows as passengers begin arriving. Among them is a woman in her mid-30s, unremarkable in every visible way. She wears dark jeans, a plain navy blazer, and a baseball cap pulled low, drawing no attention. She quietly walks to the security checkpoint, carrying a small rolling suitcase that could contain anything from business documents to personal belongings. Security Officer David Chen sips his morning coffee while watching from his position at the metal detector. 15 years with TSA, followed by 3 years at this particular checkpoint, had given him an eye for reading people. He could immediately categorize most travelers: business commuters checking their phones constantly, families with children struggling with carry-ons, elderly passengers moving slowly through the process, and occasional nervous first-time flyers. This woman was different. Setting up at the standard security line, she methodically removes her shoes and places items in bins with practiced movements that suggest years of travel experience. Her first step through the metal detector triggers an alarm with an unsettling certainty. Then, without any visible metal objects, she steps back and tries again. The alarm sounds repeatedly. Most striking is her reaction to the alarms. No frustration, no confusion, no explanation offered, just patient acceptance as if she expected this outcome. A nervous passenger behind her approaches Chen. There's something off about that woman at the front. She keeps setting off the detector, but has nothing metal on her, and she won't explain what's happening. 20 minutes later, 2 TSA supervisors arrive. They approach carefully, following standard security protocols. "Ma'am, we need to see identification and boarding pass," says Senior Supervisor Williams. The woman turns calmly, hands visible. "Is there a problem, officer?" "ID and boarding pass, please." Her face revealing nothing, she responds, "I don't have them with me." The search of her belongings yields no wallet, no phone, just an unmarked keycard and a small notebook with what appeared to be flight numbers and gate information written inside. "You'll need to come with us, ma'am." She didn't resist when they handcuffed her. No protest, no explanation, just silent compliance that somehow made the officers more uneasy than resistance would have. As they led her to the security office, Chen noticed something striking. Her eyes constantly swept the terminal, the exits, the crowd, the security cameras, as if calculating something only she could see. Detention. The TSA security office at Reagan International is modern but small. 3 interview rooms, a booking area, and offices for the supervisor and senior staff. The woman sits quietly during preliminary processing, not resisting fingerprinting but providing no information. "Name?" asks the processing officer. Silence. "Address?" Nothing. "You understand that refusing to identify yourself in an airport is a federal crime, right?" She looks at him with calm, steady eyes but says nothing. Supervisor Williams takes over, trying various interrogation techniques: friendly conversation, implied threats about federal charges, discussing the benefits of cooperation. She responds to each approach with respectful silence. "We've got ourselves a real mystery with junior officer. Maybe she's a foreign spy." The others laugh nervously. Left alone in the interview room, subtle changes appear in her behavior. She examines the space with measured precision, noting camera positions, identifying blind spots, timing staff shift changes. From the small window, she carefully studies the terminal's layout, marking emergency exits and security protocols. Fingerprints came back empty, Williams tells the federal security director. Nothing in local, state, or federal databases. "Try Interpol," suggests the director. "System's down. Tech says we can try again tomorrow." A junior officer brings her water. As she takes the cup, her sleeve lifts slightly, revealing a small, distinctive scar on her forearm, the kind left by specialized training exercises like fast rope training or tactical operations. Interesting scar, the officer comments. Training accident, she replies, her first words in 2 hours. Before the FBI. The federal prosecutor arrives in the afternoon, harried, overworked, frustrated. You're making this way harder than it needs to be, he tells her, after 30 minutes of getting nowhere. Now they're talking about terrorism charges. That behavior you're showing isn't normal for innocent travelers. The next morning, as they prepare for the federal hearing, Williams notices something odd. Despite facing serious charges, despite the orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, she carries herself with unshakable calm. Not the defiance of a career criminal or the fear of someone in real trouble, but the patience of someone who knows something everyone else doesn't. As deputies escort her to the transport van, she briefly glances toward the main terminal. A government vehicle convoy is visible in the distance. For just a moment, the slightest change appears in her expression. The hearing. The federal courthouse in Alexandria dates to 1995, with its modern design and high-tech security systems. Today it's packed beyond normal capacity. Curious reporters, federal marshals, and unusually, several people in dark suits positioned at strategic points around the room. Judge Robert Harrison looks irritated as he reviews the documents. At the defendant's table, the woman sits quietly beside her frustrated public defender. "Your Honor, I'd like to request a continuance," says the defendant. "My client hasn't cooperated, and I haven't been able to prepare an adequate defense." A man in a suit from the gallery stands. "Your Honor, I'm Agent Davis from Homeland Security. We request the defendant be remanded to federal custody pending investigation of potential national security threats." Before the judge can respond, another voice joins in. "The FBI has jurisdiction here, Your Honor." A different suited man approaches. "We have reason to believe this relates to an ongoing investigation." Judge Harrison bangs his gavel. "Enough. This is still my courtroom. We'll proceed with the hearing, then I'll consider jurisdictional arguments." The clerk reads the charges: refusal to provide identification to federal security personnel, potential violation of airport security protocols, possible terrorism-related activity. The defendant remains impassive, eyes focused forward, posture perfect. Supervisor Williams, sitting in the front row, studies her with growing curiosity. There's something about her that doesn't fit any profile he knows. Not terrorist, not criminal, not mentally ill. "How does the defendant plead to these charges?" asks Judge Harrison. Before the public defender can answer, the heavy oak doors at the back of the courtroom open. Every head turns to see a man in an expensive dark suit enter, his bearing unmistakably federal law enforcement. 2 agents in equally formal appearance accompany him. The gallery falls silent. Without announcement or permission, the man walks directly down the center aisle. Federal agents in the room instinctively straighten their posture. Even the judge adjusts his glasses. The man approaches the bench and hands a sealed document to the bailiff, who delivers it to Judge Harrison. As he breaks the seal and reads, his expression moves from annoyance to astonishment to serious understanding. After a long moment, he looks up. "In light of this documentation from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, all charges against the defendant are hereby dismissed immediately. This case is classified under the National Security Act." He bangs his gavel decisively. Court is adjourned. The room erupts in confused murmurs as the federal official approaches the defendant. The bailiff quickly removes her handcuffs. For the first time, the woman speaks clearly, her voice carrying authority despite its softness. "Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience." The man's response silences the room. "On the contrary, Agent Martinez, the Bureau apologizes to you." At the word agent, all federal personnel present, 2 bailiffs, several observers, and even Agent Davis snap to perfect attention with obvious respect. Supervisor Williams watches in amazement as the woman's entire demeanor transforms. She's no longer trying to be invisible. Standing straight, shoulders square, the intentional ordinariness gone, suddenly commanding the room as powerfully as the federal official. Judge Harrison, himself a former federal prosecutor, now stands and gives a respectful nod to both the official and the woman. "Thank you for your understanding, Your Honor," says the official. Agent Martinez was operating under classified orders. The situation required absolute discretion. The truth emerges outside the courthouse as reporters press for information. The woman, now dressed in civilian clothes provided by federal agents, stands near the official beside a black SUV with government plates. TSA Supervisor Williams approaches them, his face showing a struggle between confusion and respect. "With all due respect, sir, my department deserves an explanation. We were treating this as a potential terrorist threat." "I understand your concerns, Supervisor," the official replies. "Agent Martinez is one of our most experienced undercover operatives. The details of her mission remain classified, but I assure you she posed no threat to airport security. Quite the opposite." Security Officer Chen steps forward. "Agent, I need to apologize to you." She looks at him directly, no longer hiding behind careful emptiness. "No apology necessary, Officer Chen. You were doing your job excellently." An elderly man wearing a Navy veteran cap approaches carefully. "Excuse me, ma'am. I was Army intelligence during Desert Storm. I sat in that courtroom all morning, knew there was something familiar about how you carried yourself." He extends his hand. "Thank you for your service, whatever you do." The woman shakes his hand firmly. "Thank you for yours." The federal official checks his watch. "Agent Martinez, we need to proceed. Operation Silent Network requires debriefing, and Washington is waiting for your report." Williams's eyes widen. Silent Network, the counter-espionage operation that prevented the embassy attacks last year? The official remains professionally vague. "Agent Martinez has given this country 8 years of exemplary service. Most of it will never be public knowledge." A reporter pushes forward. "Will the agent make a statement?" "No comment," she replies firmly, "and I'd appreciate respect for operational security." As they move toward the waiting vehicle, something remarkable happens. The federal law enforcement personnel present, including those who detained and processed her, spontaneously form an honor corridor. Military veterans among them salute as she passes. Williams watches, finally understanding what had seemed so strange about her from the beginning. She wasn't trying to hide guilt, she was trained to hide excellence. New beginnings. 2 weeks later, Supervisor Williams is reviewing security protocols at his desk when his phone rings. "Supervisor Williams, this is Director Sarah Mitchell, FBI Counterintelligence Division. We met briefly during the Agent Martinez incident." Williams sits up straight. "Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you?" "I'm calling to extend an invitation. Agent Martinez is receiving a commendation tomorrow at FBI headquarters. Given your role in the situation, she thought you might like to attend." Williams is surprised. "I'd be honored, ma'am, but I'm confused. I detained her." "Sometimes the people who challenge us most teach us the most valuable lessons," the director says. "The ceremony is classified, but we can arrange clearance." The next morning, Williams drives to FBI headquarters, passing through several security checkpoints. He's escorted to a small auditorium. The audience is fewer than 40 people, mostly high-ranking agents and personnel dressed as civilians with unmistakable federal bearing. Williams takes a seat in the back row. The ceremony begins without fanfare. No press, no photographers. Director Mitchell approaches the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we recognize Special Agent Elena Martinez for extraordinary service during Operation Silent Network. For security reasons, I can only say that Agent Martinez worked undercover for 14 months, identifying and neutralizing a critical espionage threat to our national security." Williams watches as Agent Martinez steps forward in formal FBI attire, decorated with service pins and commendations. She bears little resemblance to the unremarkable woman he detained at the security checkpoint. The director continues, "After graduating first in her class from Quantico, Agent Martinez became one of our premier undercover specialists in counterintelligence operations." Williams leans forward, beginning to understand the magnitude of the person he had handcuffed and processed as a potential threat. During Operation Silent Network, Agent Martinez infiltrated a foreign intelligence ring operating on American soil. Her actions directly prevented the compromise of 6 federal facilities and potentially saved hundreds of lives. The director looks directly at Agent Martinez. "When your position was potentially compromised, you maintained operational security despite personal risk. You did this even when it resulted in your detention by federal security personnel." Williams feels shame, but notices Agent Martinez nodding respectfully at him. There's no anger or resentment in her expression. After the ceremony, Williams approaches her carefully. Agent Martinez, congratulations on your commendation. Thank you for coming, Supervisor, she says, extending her hand. I want to apologize again for what happened. No need. Based on the information you had, you did exactly what you should have done, she replies. Actually, your thoroughness was impressive. Most would have settled for a simple identification check. Williams shifts uncomfortably. I have to ask, why was it necessary to be detained? Surely you could have revealed your identity to us privately. Agent Martinez looks around, then leads him to a quieter corner of the room. The operation wasn't complete. My cover identity needed to remain intact even under scrutiny. The people we were tracking had connections within various government agencies. If word spread that I received special treatment or identified myself as federal law enforcement, 14 months of work would have been compromised. So you let us detain you? Sometimes the best way to maintain cover is to commit to it fully, even when it's uncomfortable, she says with a ghost of a smile. Besides, I knew Director Mitchell would intervene before things went too far. Another agent approaches, indicating she's needed elsewhere. Good to see you, Supervisor. Keep up the good work. As she walks away, Director Mitchell appears beside Williams. Impressive woman, isn't she? Yes, ma'am. I've never met anyone like her. Very few people have. The director pauses. You know, Supervisor, we're always looking for people with your attention to detail and persistence. If you ever consider a career change, call my office. New assignment. 6 months later, Williams stands in the FBI training facility at Quantico as the Virginia countryside stretches in the distance. After 15 years with the TSA, he had accepted a position with the FBI's Airport Security Liaison Program. His first assignment, developing protocols between airport security and federal undercover operations. His phone buzzes with a message from an unlisted number. Some of us are always traveling. Welcome aboard. Williams smiles, recognizing Agent Martinez's words. He'll probably never see her again. People like her work in the shadows, their successes never publicized, their sacrifices rarely acknowledged. But now he'll be part of the system that supports them, that makes their work possible. He'll help ensure that when someone like Agent Martinez needs cover protection again, there will be protocols in place to protect both the operation and the security personnel doing their jobs. The training instructor approaches. Agent Williams, we have reports of unusual activity at a private airfield near Dulles. I'd like you to handle the assessment. Williams nods. Yes, sir. I'll investigate immediately. As he reviews the preliminary report, he notices a detail that makes him smile. An unremarkable-looking woman displaying unusual behavior patterns at airport security checkpoints. Some things never change.